Insolvency doesn't need to ruin you. It's hiding from it what does. Most directors fail not because they're reckless, they fail because they're overwhelmed. They're under pressure and they're unsure of what the next right move is. They ignore letters, avoid phone calls. They keep the doors open for just one more month and then it's too late. Now, the truth is directors who act early, who get the right help from the right people, almost always come out the other side stronger. In this video, I'm going to walk you through some real life stories, directors who did it wrong and paid the price, and directors who did it right with our help and walked away clean. These are the lessons that they wish they'd known, and now they're yours. So what you're going to learn in this video, I'm going to break down the most common mistakes directors make under stress. Remember, I've been there. Real UK case studies, some who failed, some who succeeded. What actually happens when you ignore debts? What happens when you ignore directors' loans? What happens when you ignore HMRC? And the exact 5-step plan we use at Director First to protect directors who are under pressure. Now, it's going to be emotional, it's going to be practical, and like with everything we put out here, it's going to be brutally honest. If you're a UK director and you're feeling the pressure, this one is for you. Remember, my name's Chris Worden. I'm from Director First. We put out tons of content on all social platforms to help you understand the minefield of UK insolvency. So listen, let's dive in with a mistake a business made around the strike-off method, okay? Let's call him Mark. Mark runs a marketing agency. His business was strong in 2019. COVID smashed revenue. Everyone cancelled their contracts with him. He took a £50,000 bounce back loan, but he was only entitled to take 20,000. Okay. Now, when Mark come to us with his inquiry, nice guy, you know, we started to talk about what had happened, and we sort of pointed out to him that, listen, mate, you've took too much here. There was no way that his business was going to turn over the full £200,000 that it would have needed to take the 50 grand bounce back loan. And we said to him, listen, the best thing for you to do, really, I know it's hard, is actually pay this back over a longer period of time. Now, he didn't take advice because, as you know, if you're watching my videos, you're probably getting hammered by the social media algorithms and people are telling you all sorts of things. He decided to liquidate with a firm that said it wouldn't be any problem. It'd get swept away under the carpet. And sadly, he was one of those guys, who got disqualified. And it is a shame because when I spoke to him, you sort of get a sense for people who've, you know, been premeditated. This guy made a mistake, and he ended up getting disqualified for 10 years. So again, this is one of these things where you've got to be really, really careful. He took the wrong advice. And if it's too good to be true, it generally is. I'll give you another example. Let me tell you about Emma, okay? Emma owned a high street clothing store. Her sales dropped. Rent was overdue. She had a bounce back loan. She had HMRC. She had supplier debts. She owed money in rent. She also owed money to the business rates, and she owed money to energy. And she could feel that it was collapsing. But instead of ignoring it, she called us. And here's what we did. Like, we reviewed everything. We got our financials out. We went through that profit and loss and first had a look and go, right, is there any way we can salvage this in its current state? Okay. One of the things that we noticed in there is she had an overdrawn director's loan account of about £35,000. And she'd also took some loans that were personally guaranteed. So we went through things and thought, right, we looked at the financials. She had management information. And we're like, well, does this business have a future in its current guise? And she'd started to sell online and she was doing rather well. And the decision was made, well, the best way to salvage this business is actually to liquidate this high street business. She was in a town that had very little footfall, and sort of resurrect it online. So what she did is we got a valuation done on the stock. And this was clothing. It wasn't really branded clothing. And I think she bought it for about 15p in the pound. So for argument's sake, let's say it was worth 100 grand. She paid 15 grand for it. And that was because an agent had basically said this type of stock at an auction, he believed would raise about £10,000, or a stock buyer would come in and offer 10p in the pound. So she offered 15 grand. The insolvency practitioner was happy with that figure. More importantly, the agent accepted that figure and wrote a letter of recommendation. And she decided to move out the shop. We reviewed the shop for personal guarantees, and we reviewed the shop for PGs under dilapidations claim. And she managed to walk away from quite a lot of unsecured debt and start again. Now, I've mentioned that she had a director's loan account. And again, that's one thing that we're a little bit different to everyone else. We'll put a lot of work into you. Like, we won't ask for anything. We'll do quite a lot of work on your case so you understand everything. And our hope is at the end of it, we've built that much goodwill with you. It's an easy decision to work with us. So on this director's loan account, I think it was £35,000 overdrawn. So what that means is she owed the company £35,000. And once the liquidator becomes appointed, they're going to ask her to pay it back. Now, the problem for Emma and most directors out there is they can't afford to pay the director's loan account back. Now, Emma had a house, she owned a property, and she also owned a rental property in her name. She had very little savings because she'd obviously spent a lot of money trying to keep the business afloat. But it wasn't a case where the insolvency practitioner could write off the director's loan account. Now, if you are in rented accommodation with very little disposable income, it's highly likely an insolvency practitioner will write it off, or they'll accept a very small amount. So we sort of highlighted this time and said, listen, what we need to do is we need to go back to the insolvency practitioner with your best offer and proposal of repayment. And what we did is we went through a bankruptcy calculator. Please don't let that scare you, okay? All the bankruptcy calculation does is it shows the insolvency practitioner that if you decided to go hard against this director and incur legal action, it would take a long time, what type of money you would get back for the creditors if this director was made bankrupt. And actually, in this case, a bankruptcy would get nothing back to the directors. Back to the creditors. So the director offered to pay a full and final settlement of that director's loan account at £7,000 over 3 months, and it was accepted. So before Emma made any decisions, she understood, sorry, my grammar's not great. She understood what she was going to buy her assets back for. They were spread over a period of time. That 15 grand got paid over 3 months. And she also offered 7 grand on a director's loan account. And that was it, full and final. And she's got on with her life. We've actually had a really nice review off her on Trustpilot. Obviously, she's not called Emma. And she's been able to get on with her life and refocus her efforts selling these clothes online. So that is an example of where this goes better. The result for Emma, obviously, there was no disqualification, no bankruptcy. Director's loan account was settled through a negotiation. A house was protected. A rental property was protected. And she was able to start again. She shut down the company properly and walked away. And now she's making money. Now, I want to sort of dig into why directors fail. And I think there's like 3 common patterns. And over the last few years, we've worked with, well, thousands of directors. Now, here are the 3 most common problems that get them into trouble. Number 1 is they stay going for too long. The business is clearly failing, but they keep trading. Let me have a little drink. They keep borrowing money. They keep taking money out of the business. And they avoid facing insolvency. And I know this because that's what I was like. When my business became insolvent, I knew in early December that it was over. Or I should have known, because all the other people in my industry that were perhaps a little bit more savvy than me shut the doors immediately. But I'd read that much personal development and listened to that many podcasts, I was dangerous. And my head said that this is going to get better and better. And don't worry, Chris, just hang on in there. I wrote gratitude lists in the morning and I said affirmations. This is good. Every day and every way I'm getting stronger and stronger. And I'm not knocking that stuff. It's really, really good and helpful, but it can be quite painful if you're going through an insolvency. I really needed to see things as they were, okay? Because continuing to trade when you've got no hope of recovery, that can lead to things like accusation of wrongful trading. If I continue to trade and keep taking money out of the business and the business has got no profits, the chances are I'm going to be landed with some personal liability and obviously bigger debts. Now, another problem that I see people making is they don't declare their income properly. Okay. So, and what I mean by that is we're taught as directors the best way to take money out of our business is a combination of salary and dividends. So, salary element will probably be about £1,000 a month, and you top the rest up as dividends. Okay. But a lot of directors I see, they just take money out of the business as and when, and they use it as a cash machine, like it's their personal account. Now, in insolvency, okay, this becomes a problem because if you're taking salary and drawings in anticipation of profits to declare a dividend and you're not making any money because you're insolvent, well, you can't be taking drawings because those drawings will not get converted to a dividend at the end of the year. What they'll be converted to is an overdrawn director's loan account. And the insolvency practitioner will do the same. And that becomes a huge problem. And the third problem that I see is either they get really bad advice or they go silent. They try and Google their way out of it. Honestly, I identify with that. I did it myself. I thought, I figured most things out in life. I'll go on Google and I'll sort this out. And honest to God, Google, even now, I'll go on to Google and most of the content out there, it will confuse you. And it's because the application of it is very specific to your situation. And I went out and I actually physically sat down with insolvency practitioners and they scared the life out of me. Like some of them spoke to me that I was a naughty schoolboy. Some of them spoke to me like I was a criminal. And guess what? No one would give me a straight answer because they all wanted me to spend some money and then they take some time to actually look at things. Now, remember, once you've appointed an insolvency practitioner, it's a bit like dancing with a gorilla. The gorilla will finish the dance when the gorilla wants, not when you want. Okay. And another thing is that they just go silent. They just think, okay, I'm just going to ignore it. I'm going to ignore it. It'll go away. The ostrich method. Guess what? I did that. And that's when mistakes multiply. And the lesson is the earlier you act, the fewer mistakes you make and the less that you lose. So I want to talk, I like to interweave these videos with case studies and I'll talk about the guy who waited too long. So let's call him Richard. He ran a warehouse and distribution company. He knew the numbers weren't working. He owed the revenue nearly 300 grand. He had lots of hands on finance. He was using personal credit cards to cover business bills, right? And we spoke about 18 months ago. And he said, I'm going to try and push through. I'm going to get one more quarter. I'm going to arrange a time to pay arrangement with HMRC. And he sort of muddled along. And then he got a winding up petition fairly recently. But the problem that Richard had is instead of like taking the advice, and actually the advice 18 months ago was to get it into liquidation, he took on a shed load more of personally guaranteed debt. So now he's not just lost his business. He's got personal liability on the shortfall on the vehicles. He's getting wound up. So that's quite a negative, negative ending. I know like a liquidation is not great, but a compulsory liquidation is the official receiver and it's generally a worse outcome. But the guys took hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of personally guaranteed debt on, and it's all going to crystallize now, and his home is at risk. It's really, really important. It's really important that you take advice early, because this guy his problems have just they've got 10 times worse. When I spoke to him at first, okay, he owed the HMRC a fair bit of money and he would have had some shortfall on the vans, but he didn't have hundreds of thousands of pounds in personally guaranteed debt. Listen, there's no award going to the director who struggles the most. And when he sits down with the official receiver, you know what? He'll be able to say, listen, I've put all this personally guaranteed debt into the business to keep it afloat. And I think he'll probably avoid disqualification because obviously he is going to be really negatively impacted by this insolvency. But then he's going to have to sit down with his missus and say, listen, we're at a very real risk of losing this house. So again, got to be careful. Obviously, let's talk about someone who got it right. Let's talk about Chris. Chris ran a recruitment agency. Okay, his business took a huge hit. He had a C-bills. He had HMRC. He had quite a onerous lease on his business. And basically, what had happened is in the industry that he was in, the budgets that companies use to spend money with him, they've been reduced and reduced and reduced. And this guy also had a director's loan account of about 150 quid, 150 grand. Now, here's the difference. This guy had a plan. He contacted us early. He stopped taking drawings immediately and converted to PAYE for a few months because he still needed to take some money out of the business, okay? And he still needed to run the business. He declared every transaction clearly. He created board meeting minutes and documented every single decision. And we created a plan and a strategy for him. Now, on his director's loan account, this guy had quite a lot of equity in his property. Okay, he was a wealthy guy on paper, but he didn't have any cash. So the insolvency practitioner accepted that he'll pay all the director's loan account back, but they'll pay it over 2 years. Okay. And he was able to liquidate the business, okay, and start again. He transferred all his staff over to the new company. He got out of that onerous lease and found a office that was more suitable. And his clients who he worked with for years were happy to move over with him. Now, this guy had a valuation done. He paid fair market value for the business and he was able to pay it over terms. So the company got closed. Chris got protected. He's back in business and he's actually making money. And it's because he took advice early and he had support. Now, every director we support sort of follows the same framework, like the 5-step protection plan. And number one, step one is you've got to understand your numbers. Understand what you owe, okay? Who do you owe it to? Are there any personal guarantees that you've signed, whether it's with loans, credit cards, overdrafts, suppliers? And we also review your director's loan position. We will find out exactly if you've got one, if you have, how much it is, and more importantly, what we're going to do about it once you go into insolvency. Now, step two is, listen, stop digging the hole, okay? At this point, you can't pay off friends and family. You can't pay off personally guaranteed loans, okay? And if you are past the point of no return, and what that means is in your heart of hearts, you're not going to get through this. You don't keep trading if there's no viable future. You stop trading, okay? Step 3 is document your decisions. Keep a simple log. What decisions you made, why you made them, and how they protect creditors. That's important because once you're insolvent, your decisions need to be in the interest of your creditors. You're no longer going to work on behalf of stakeholders and shareholders. And a decision log could be as simple as an email between you and your other director or from you to you. And step 4, you've got to decide the right process. Okay. You've got to find out what's the right strategy to get you from A to B legally. This could be a liquidation. It could be an administration. It could be a CVA. In some cases, it could be a strike off, but you've got to be careful. And step 5 is get the right team around you. We act for you. We help advise you. We don't do anything that's underhand. We don't break any rules, but our advice is tailored to help you get the best outcome. And we have 6 licensed insolvency practitioners that we work with every single day that will take the appointments. but we help explain your position. We give you a full detailed report, okay? We manage the whole process with you and the insolvency practitioner, and we do all of this for free. We'll give you so much value so you understand everything before we ask you to make a decision. And that's how we protect directors from liability in most cases and from stress. Now, you're not a failure. You're just in a hard moment, and there is a way through it. Every story I've told you today is real. I've just changed the names. Some directors waited too long. Some directors acted fast. The difference was they spoke to us. And when they spoke to us, we helped them. So I hope you found this video helpful. My name is Chris Worden. I'm from Director First. Please leave a comment and we will respond to it personally. And subscribe to the channel. Pick the phone up if you need some help. Goodbye.